That way people can review this at a later date as well. So hello and welcome to the University of Illinois at Chicago's live webinar for the online measurement evaluation statistics and assessment program here at UIC College of Education. My name is Curtis Adams. I'm the advisor for the program and will serve as today's moderator for today's webinar event. Thank you all for joining us today. A few housekeeping items before we begin today's presentation. Please keep your mic muted and video off. We'll have a chat box available for you to enter questions. We recommend closing other browsers or applications during the presentation to prevent the webinar from running slow or freezing. We'll be recording today's session, so feel free to take notes if you like, but please know we'll be sending this out as a recording link of the full presentation to each participant, which you can feel free to share with other colleagues or friends interested in the MESA program. Now, if you have any questions that come to mind during today's presentation, feel free to type it in the chat box and we'll address it along with any other questions during the Q&A session for the final 15-20 minutes of today's scheduled presentation. So with further ado, I'd like to introduce today's agenda. We're gonna have program overview with Dr. Everett Smith, Program Director for the Online MED and MESA and ERM certification. We'll have financial aid overview by UIC's Financial Aid Assistant Director, Mrs. Bianca Sanchez, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So at this time, I'm gonna head and turn over today's session to Dr. Smith. Enjoy the presentation, everyone.
Thanks, Curtis, and welcome everybody. I'm gonna just start out with a program overview, and then we'll get into some details as we move along. But I guess the first question is why study MESA at UIC? Well, we're a nationally ranked D1 university research program, and we've been combining this with the convenience of online learning for over a decade now that we've been teaching in the MESA online program. And because the program is fully online, you can continue to meet work and family commitments. Most of our students, in fact, earn their degree while working full-time. For those of you that may be local and prefer a face-to-face program, we do also have a corresponding master's program that's considered face-to-face. For relevance, the coursework is taught by UIC faculty and professionals working in MESA-related fields. In fact, we actually only have one course where we adjunct out the content. We believe that as many courses as we can to have a faculty home is better for course development, course maintenance. The one course that we do adjunct out is from a former PhD student of mine, and she teaches the large-scale assessment course, but she's very diligent in keeping that one up. So we mainly teach the courses ourselves and very rarely rely on outside adjunct faculty members. We strive for an effective balance between theoretical and applied coursework. If I had to put percentages to it, I'd say it's probably 90–95% applied, maybe 5% theoretical, especially when you get maybe to the more advanced courses like hierarchical linear modeling and item response theory. Those may have a little bit more of a balance between the theoretical and applied. But most of the other courses almost all purely applied. We try to provide an in-depth experience with the major computer programs used in the industry for both statistical analysis and measurement construction. So for the statistics, it's primarily SPSS, but you have the option of using SAS. I think the HLM and IRT course also use a little bit of R. We used WinSteps, we used Conquest, and I think those are the major programs that are currently being implemented, although faculty obviously have the prerogative to change and update as software updates itself. The opportunities, you'll benefit from an impressive depth of course offerings, I think especially in statistics and psychometrics. If you do your due diligence, we're one of the few institutions in the country that offer coursework in all four major paradigms in psychometrics, so item response theory or IRT, Roche measurement, generalizability theory, and classical test theory. Again, if you do your due diligence, you'll find everybody teaches classical test theory. That's the basis for most of what measurement or passes as measurement goes on today. Generalizability theory, we're fortunate that Dr. Yu Yin, she comes to us from Stanford University, where she studied under Dr. Richard Shabelson, who's probably one of the top 1 or 2 people in the world in generalizability theory. So she gives an overview and an introduction to generalizability theory in her educational measurement class. Then we have the IRT versus ROSH. Again, if you do your due diligence, you'll find that these two paradigms are completely at opposition to each other when it comes to what's considered measurement. And so if you find a faculty member that runs a program and they're an IRT person, their bias will usually be to teach IRT. And conversely, if it's a ROSH person, their bias will be to teach ROSH. I myself started as an IRT person, switched over to ROSH. But for the benefit of our students, you really need to learn both, because if you start looking at the job opportunities out there, about half the organization, this is in the United States, about half the organizations would want you to use ROSH models. The other half want you to use IRT models. If you go outside of the United States, it's predominantly dominated by ROSH models. So to learn just one or the other is really disservice to the students. So we make sure we have courses covering both paradigms. We try to provide as much flexibility as possible with projects and coursework that can be tailored to your career goals and interests. You can access your coursework any time, day, night, weekends, or weekdays. We all, of course, have a common set of assessments, so we can make apples to apples grading comparisons. But in several of the courses, you're encouraged to bring in your own data and apply the methodologies that you're learning to your own data. So for example, in my ROSH course, we have a common set of assignments, but simultaneously you're encouraged to analyze your own data with the methodology being covered that week and submit that for feedback as well. There's similar processes in the research design course and the program evaluation course as well. The core MESA faculty, we possess a broad range of experiences and expertise to address virtually all aspects of the job market. We're obviously all in academia now, but at some point in our careers, we've worked for testing companies, state departments of education, research hospitals, and we've probably, among all of us, we've probably consulted with pretty much every type of organization that you can think of. So we have an experience across a wide range of fields and what's needed to be successful in those fields. The areas of expertise obviously cover the MESA, so the measurement, evaluation, statistics, and assessment. So for measurement, we kind of substitute psychometrics in there. With research in theoretical and applied aspects in these fields. If you're more interested in what the faculty are engaged in, I encourage you to visit the College of Education website and then look under educational psychology to find the MESA faculty. And in there, you'll see short bios, some recent publications and grants that we're working on and such. One of the reasons I think most folks seek out careers in MESA is because there's always jobs. So MESA gives you the rigorous and immediately applicable training in quantitative as well as qualitative methodologies, not only for educational, but for healthcare and social science research settings. If you go to ncme.org, which is the National Council on Measurement and Education, they do a survey, I'm going to say every maybe 5, 6, 7 years, of employers, anything from community colleges all the way up through D1, state and federal government, public, private organizations, and the survey results always come back the same. There's always more jobs than there are people to fill them. I think one of the reasons for this is there's nothing like a MESA program at an undergrad level. The closest thing you could probably get is a degree in statistics, BS in statistics, or a degree, a bachelor's degree in psychology, where they have you take an intro research design or an intro stat course. Otherwise, there's really nothing like a MESA program at an undergrad level. So a lot of folks don't even realize this field exists. I didn't know it existed until I was in my master's program and kind of bumped into an intro measurement course. So I kind of backed into my career in MESA, like many of the other folks that I know have. We maintain a listserv, so a little bit old fashioned, but we still have a listserv that has, I think we're up to like 425 or 430 folks on it that date back to '98, where current, former PhD, MEd, and ERM students are. So I shot out an email a while back saying, hey, where are you folks working now? And here's just a partial list, because I only gave it like a day and a half for folks to respond. And so you can see the wide range of organizations that a lot of our graduates are working in. Down below are several job talks. The first couple were done before I started partnering with Curtis and his group. So they're done on my home camcorder, so they're not very professionally done. I'd save those to last if you have time. I'd start out with the November 2018 one. Curtis's group came in, they had a professional setup, they did professional editing, and they actually won an award for that recording. So you can start with a highlight clip, but then the full talk, I think, is well worth your time. I brought in several colleagues and former students in the MESA areas. So they cover the MESA, but they also cover a wide range of employment opportunities. And so they basically went through a Q&A of what do they do in their jobs, how do they get into their field, and what graduate students can do to prepare for careers in their field. So it covers everything from obviously academia to licensure certification to institutional research, where there's an awful lot of jobs available, philanthropy, healthcare research. So it's a good watch and a good listen. It's about an hour and a half long, so just be forewarned. A little bit more about the online. Prepares you for careers in academic institutions, state and federal agencies, some of the larger school districts that have their own assessment coordinators, and obviously the testing industry, so licensure and certification boards, private and non-profit testing organizations. A little bit more, students who want to acquire the knowledge and technical skills needed for entry-level positions in research, assessment, and evaluation careers. Most organizations, in order to get into leadership positions, are eventually going to require a PhD. But in looking at the job postings, because I try to look every weekend and then post some of the interesting ones to our MESA listserv, over the years, I've seen more of a shift in this, simply because, like I mentioned earlier, there's not enough people to fill the jobs. So while these organizations may say they want a PhD for someone to get into leadership positions, they're not really in a position to demand that all the time. So I'm seeing a lot more job ads that would say just graduate levels. That includes obviously the master's plus experience to get into these more leadership positions. And again, I think that's just a function of the supply demand out there. For students who eventually want to pursue doctoral studies in the MESA areas, we've had several of our master's students go on to very good PhD programs throughout the country, including our own. PhD students in education and other fields who want to increase their research skills, I'd estimate maybe 15, depending on the year, 15 to 25% of the students in the MEd or the ERM programs are actually PhD students in other fields. So these are PhD students in curriculum, policy, sociology, has been signing up with us quite a bit, that realize that when they get to the job market, if they have, let's say, a PhD in sociology or a PhD in curriculum and instruction, but they also simultaneously have a master's in MESA, and they're going after a research career, they're going to have a tremendous advantage over another person who simply just has their doctorate in policy or the doctorate in sociology or curriculum. So for those PhD students that can handle staying in a PhD program for another year or so, their benefit when they get out, again, assuming they want a research career, I think really helps them out in the job market. And then finally, faculty and other professionals just seeking to increase their quantitative or qualitative research skills, whether that's to increase their job opportunities or for upward mobility within their current jobs. The MEd is 32 semester hours. All of our courses are 4 credits. You can see the listing down here. We have the intro stat course, the intro measurement course. We have several intermediate stat courses, so the multivariate, the ANOVA, and regression. The rating scale and questionnaire design and analysis course not only covers the rating scale and questionnaire design and analysis, but that's also our Roche modeling course. We have program evaluation that's actually being split up into 2 courses because of the demand for evaluators has grown so much. Dr. Tisdale is splitting that course into two courses now. We have the intro assessment course. The large scale testing course, it's really designed for those people that are managing licensure certification programs. So it takes you through the entire life cycle of a testing program. And if you're overseeing psychometrician electricians or statisticians or content experts, what you should expect them to be doing at each stage of the life cycle of a testing program. An intro research design course and the IRT course I mentioned earlier. A couple of advanced stat courses, so the hierarchical linear modeling course, which would be appropriate for longitudinal and nested data, and then the structural equation modeling course. I already mentioned regression and ANOVA as intermediate stat courses, and then by student requests and demands, we introduced a qualitative data analysis course just a couple of years ago. Most students will take 2 courses per semester, so you'll finish up in 4 semesters. Many students come in with some graduate coursework in the MESA areas before, so they may be, depending on, again, other commitments with family or work, they may be able to finish within 2 to 3 semesters. A little bit more, or shifting gears here, more to the certificate program, the Educational Research Methodology Certificate Program. Shorter, more focused than the master's program. It's got a lot of flexibility to it. Actually, both have quite a bit of flexibility to it. We'll work with you to identify the right courses of study for your specific needs. So basically, I'll sit down with you and ask you what your career goals are, or what kind of research questions you want to answer, or what kind of organizations you want to try to work for, and try to tailor the courses to meet your needs. A lot of folks also use the ERM as a stepping stone to the MED for several reasons, I suspect. One is that they may not know if MESA is really right for them, so they want to just tip their toe in the water, so to speak, and start out with a certificate program. And or they may not know that online learning is for them or not. So the ERM is just a way to get some kind of certificate out of it, and to see if online learning is going to be suitable for them. You have the option of transferring those credits to the MED, provided you get Bs or better. It just takes a little bit of paperwork. And of course, it's fully online, just like the MESA program. So we designed the ERM for private and public sector workers in education, and obviously other social science fields who want to upgrade their skill sets, specifically in quantitative methodology. Graduate students from education and other fields who want additional training and research. Again, that's part of that 15 to 25% I mentioned earlier. They're a combination of PhD students who are either signed up for the certificate or the master's simultaneously with their PhD program. And finally, just individuals desiring to pursue a more focused course of study. I get some folks from industry that come in that have been thrust into a certain role in their jobs, and they have no real background in it. So for example, someone may be thrust into a data analytics position. They don't have any background in statistics. So they'll just start out in the ERM and just focus on the statistics track. It's the same set of courses that we have available in the ERM. It's a minimum of 12 credits, so three courses. Typically, students in the ERM take 1 course a semester, so they'll finish up in 3 semesters. There's one difference between the course availability in the ERM versus the MED. In the MED, you're actually allowed to transfer up to 8 credits from other institutions or other units at UIC into the MED program with permission. The certificate was passed with just these courses, so you're not allowed to deviate from the MESA offerings if you go the certificate route. As far as the tuition rate, it's $7.93 per credit hour for the graduate online programs, plus instructor specified textbooks and software. I know students can get creative in their searches online for textbooks, and some, I know publishers offer just temporary downloads of books as well. For software, that can get expensive, but we try to mitigate that by using either time-limited versions, which are free, or student versions which may have limited functionality, but can get the point across for what we're trying to do. And so we try to use those when we can. There's also an $18 per credit library and IT assessments fee, since you have full access to the university library, at least the online sections of it. As I mentioned already, the MED is 32 credits and the ERM is 12 credits minimum. These are minimums. And unlike campus programs where the tuition is variable depending on the number of credits you're registered for, it's the same well, it's not only varies depending on the number of credits, depends on your geographic location as well. For here, the tuition rate is the same for domestic, in-state, out-of-state, as well as for international students. So again, I think that's a big difference from typical campus programs. I'm going to hand it over to Bianca now to discuss a little bit about the financial aid process.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Bianca. I'm here to discuss with you a little bit about financial aid. So financial aid is for degree-seeking students. You may be eligible for financial aid. Usually, as a graduate student, you would only be eligible for student loans. If you're interested, you do have to submit a FAFSA. If you're entering in the spring semester, we do require a 21-22 FAFSA, and as well, you might as well complete 22-23 FAFSA. It's also available for the next academic year. Non-degree students may apply for student loans with a private lender, which is called alternative loans. We don't recommend any specific lenders. We do recommend for you to visit finaid.ed.org. They have a list of lenders, and usually it's up to the student to look up lenders that best fits you. Also, there's military veterans may be eligible for veterans benefits. You do have to contact Veterans Affairs if you are eligible, for instance, for post 9/11. We process IVG and the National Guard. If you are eligible for that, then we only request for you to submit your letter of eligibility to our office so that we can process those benefits. So the financial program, subsidized loan, and the Graduate Plus loan for graduate students. Next slide. So as I mentioned before, you must complete a FAFSA. If you go to fafsa.ed.gov in order to be considered for financial aid, it does take within 72 hours for us to receive your FAFSA. And then from there, we will email you if we need any additional documentation. FAFSA is available October 1st each year. So each year you do have to submit a FAFSA. Make sure you include our school code, which is 001776. If not, we won't get your FAFSA and you won't be awarded. So if we are requesting additional information from you, we do highly suggest for you to submit it as soon as possible, because it does take 4 to 6 weeks during our busy time to review any documentation. Right now is not as busy, so it might take up to 2 weeks. We will email you of any additional documentation, so just keep on the lookout for any emails financial aid does send. As a graduate student, you must be at least part-time, which is at least 5 credit hours per semester in order to receive the student loans. If you have any questions, make sure to email onlinefinaid@uic.edu, or you could give us a call. We will, most of our staff is working from home, so it's always best to email our office. Also, important stuff for spring students, if you haven't received an award letter and you've already been accepted to the program and everything, just email the onlinefinaid@uic.edu so we can look into your file to see if you've reached what's going on, if we got your FAFSA, or if we're asking for additional documentation. Currently, we're still awarding spring students. So just if you're enrolled in classes already, more than likely you'll receive an award letter. If you haven't, just email us and we can check out to see what's going on. And also visit our website. There's a lot of helpful information there about student loans if you want any additional information, the rates, and everything else. Also, payment plans. Payment plans are done by a university bursar. So you will have to contact their office or visit their website for any payment plan options.
All right, thank you, Ms. Bianca Sanchez.
No problem.
All right, so now for the moment we've been waiting, we'll turn it back over to Ev to break down the program details and requirements for students who are looking to get in for the spring term.
Thanks, Curtis. For the MED, the GRE general, it's optional at this point. it's not necessary to fulfill it. So if you've taken an intro stat course or research design course, you've worked on some kind of research project, I probably wouldn't personally take the time to prepare and pay and take the GRE. I just submit my application. Undergraduate GPA 275 out of a 4-point scale. If you're international, English competency test scores, which can be waived under certain circumstances. So if you're in that situation and you feel like your English competency is sufficient, you can contact us and we can give you the options to fill out a waiver form. As I mentioned, we don't, there is nothing like MESA at undergraduate level, so we don't put any restrictions on your undergraduate degree. We do ask letters of recommendation and personal statement. This is more so to make sure that we're a good fit for you. And it helps me get an idea, at least initially, of what course or plan of study might be suitable for what you're trying to accomplish. Initially, you're permitted to just upload unofficial transcripts. We implemented this a number of years ago because a lot of our international applicants were having trouble getting official transcripts to us by the application deadlines. So it's switched to an unofficial transcripts, at least initially, but you're always encouraged to start the process of getting your official transcripts, because if you do get into the program, we do require the official transcripts for registration. The ERM, slightly less onerous, unofficial transcripts again, English competency test scores again, no letters of recommendation, but we do ask for a personal statement. Again, just to make sure we're a good fit. There's also like a course selection sheet so we can get an idea of the courses that you may think are best suited for your goals, and then I can meet with you to try to confirm or modify those course selections. That course selection sheet doesn't lock you into taking certain courses. It just gives me an idea of what you're thinking might be relevant to your career goals. And again, like the master's program, there's no restrictions on the undergraduate degree. For the upcoming spring and summer sessions, you can see the offerings. We have the intro stat course, the intro measurement course, the rating scale / ROSH course, the assessment course, the intermediate to advanced multivariate stat course. Here's that the splitting of the program evaluation course. The first course in the 2-course sequence now is the evaluation principles and methods. So that'll be offered every spring. And then the hierarchical linear modeling course. Now there are prerequisites for several of these courses. So if you visit the website, there is a PDF you can download that lists the prerequisites for every course that we offer. For application deadlines, coming up for spring, January 3rd, and then for summer, June 5th. There is a third way, which is to, if you miss these deadlines, is to apply as a non-degree student, an online extramural non-degree student. I don't encourage you using that route, because if courses fill up, the people that apply after these deadlines as a non-degree student are usually in the back of the line as far as getting in on these courses. And some of these courses do fill up quite rapidly. So I'd encourage you to try to seek out the ERM or the MED by the deadlines. And if for some reason you can't meet those deadlines, use that online non-degree extramural application as a last-ditch alternative. For more information about the program, you can email Curtis's team at that onlineinfo@uic.edu. There's also a whole bunch of information at the website, including a lot of student testimonials that have been sent to us throughout the years. So if it's something regarding the admission process or application process, I encourage you to reach out to Curtis's team. If it's something about course content, for example, if you want to see representative syllabi, or if you want to talk about course sequencing or career opportunities, then feel free to email me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can. Curtis, handing it back off to you.
All right, thanks, Ev. So at this time, we're going to open up for the question and answer section. So if you like, come off of mute, ask a question you have about the program, or if you have anything related to financial aid for me or Ms. Bianca, feel free to do so now, or if you prefer to put it in the chat. I see one question here. What is the benefit of doing the program as a second or third degree?
Is that in the chat?
Yeah, I see it came up. Yeah, what is the benefit of doing the program if it's someone who's already has, you know, a couple master degrees, a second or a third degree option?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would entirely depend on what you're trying to do with your career. I mean, your master's could be, for example, in social work or in curriculum instruction. And if you're trying to get into a research career, those kind of master's degrees aren't going to be very much benefit. So if you're trying to learn how to do research or a program evaluation, then obviously getting a degree specific to that is going to be beneficial. Let's see. Do you need a background in this field to be successful in the program? Absolutely not. I estimate probably half the folks we have in both certificate and masters are career changers. So they're coming in with essentially zero background. That's why we start them off with the intro to research design and the intro statistics course, the 503 and 509. Especially 503, that was specifically developed for those career changers. It's a really basic stats course. So that's where the career changers would start out. Other folks that come in with a background, for example, taking an intro stat course at either a master's or a doctoral level would skip 503. Let's see, how do students feel connected to other professors in the program since it's fully online? Well, I think there's every faculty member is different. We use Blackboard as the mechanism to deliver content. And within Blackboard, there are many options on how to foster communities. So there's obviously chat rooms, there's discussion rooms. You can always schedule Zoom calls if you like with your faculty member. So it really depends on the faculty member what options they activate within Blackboard to allow students to communicate with each other. Obviously, students are always allowed to communicate with each other, but there's different features within Blackboard that vary from course to course. Regarding letters of recommendation, what information would be looking for someone who submits a letter about the applicant? Well, I think just that can vary. I mean, if it's coming from a faculty member, your performance in their classes. If it's coming from, let's say, a manager or a supervisor, it might be about your work ethic. So it's more of a holistic picture, asking them to speak to whatever attributes they can about you. So again, depending on the nature of the relationship, they'll address different aspects of your work ethic or your academic background or your preparation for graduate work. Let's see, that one I guess would be for Bianca. How about the financial aid for international students?
For international students, well, international students do not qualify for FAFSA. So the only option would be seeking for private loans that you may be able to apply to. Unfortunately, there won't be any financial aid for international students, or getting into a payment plan with the billing office. That's another option, pretty much.
Thanks. Let's see, does the program give exposure to programming languages? I believe Dr. Karabatsis uses R in his HLM and his IRT courses. So that would be the programming languages that he adopts. Since it's mostly applied, we have had inquiries about developing a standalone R course, but there's so many free options available on the internet. We didn't really see the point of doing so and charging people. So, I mean, there's the free resources online, but Dr. Karabatsis uses R quite extensively, I believe, in his IRT and HLM courses. Some other questions, folks?
Well, also, if you'd like, you could come off of mute and tell us about your interest in MESA program, and we brought you here today as well.
How do students manage working full-time and completing the program? I think that the one characteristic you need to have in order to be successful is a little bit of discipline. Since we're online, we don't meet it's not synchronous, so you don't meet like on a Wednesday 5 to 8 Central Time. It's all asynchronous, which means that we assign work to be completed during a week. When you do that work during the week, it's up to you, but you have to have enough self-discipline to log on every day, maybe check the messages from the instructor or fellow students, and to make sure you get the work done within the time frame that it's allotted. For many of us, what we try to do is stagger the week that we use. So for example, my 2 courses, they go from Tuesday to Monday and Wednesday to Tuesday. I do that so you don't have everything due on a Monday morning for all your classes. And I think a lot of my other faculty members in MESA do likewise. They kind of stagger the start end date for the week, so you can try to divvy up your work week for the courses. Oh, thanks for that link, Bianca. And again, if nothing's popping into your head at the moment, because we're going through a lot of material, again, for admission process kind of questions, feel free to reach out Curtis's team at any time. And then for anything regarding the course sequencing or course content, you can always reach out to me as well. Can I transfer credits in from other schools for this program? Not for the certificate. For the MED, 8 credits can be transferred in, but they have to be approved. So I would need to see syllabi for whatever courses that you're thinking about transferring in. And then if the content looks MESA related, and then if you got B's or better, then it's just a matter of some paperwork to get those credits transferred in.
And I also wanted to let everyone know, if you have further questions about the program or application process, you can set up an appointment with me, Curtis Adams, or the other enrollment specialist, Ms. Dana Hopkins, and we'd be happy to walk you through the entire process. So you can set up an appointment with us. Right. Any other questions? We are still accepting applications, again, as I've mentioned, for the upcoming spring 22. The deadline is January 3rd, but we will be running through that. So if you get everything in, of course, as I've mentioned, you want to get your application. If you're pursuing the MED and MESA, your letters of recommendation. If you're pursuing the ERM certification, you're just looking to fill out your application, upload your transcripts. We have a goal statement, which is 2 to 3 paragraphs explaining your interest in the program and what are you looking to accomplish with the program. As well as if you pursue the ERM certificate, you want to put the courses selection sheet, which will be the 3 courses you plan on taking during that time period. All right.
I have a question if you have time.
Yeah.
Yeah. If one's interested, say, like in law enforcement or even the medical field for research, right? To whatever it could be, whatever their needs might be. These courses really apply to that sort of thing, right? Where you would go in knowing how to set up the research projects and then how to, of course, get the data, evaluate it, and make recommendations. Does that sound about right, or am I just being?
No, you're entirely correct. The methodology is agnostic to content. I'd estimate at least half of our students are not from education and want nothing to do with educational research. Historically, these types of quant programs exist in 2 places, and that's either in an ed psych program like ours or in a quantitative psych program at a PhD level. And so you'll find at these programs that most of the students, or at least a good portion of the students, are not from that home institution. So most of our students are not from education. They come to us to learn the methodology then they go back to their home fields to be kind of like the go-to person for methodological work.
Ah, very good. Thank you.
Yep. Now, that isn't to say, Daniel, that, I mean, like programs like law enforcement programs, they will have their own specific methodology courses, but they usually don't have the advanced coursework. So in that kind of situation, if you're interested in law enforcement research, you get a degree in MESA and probably take a course or two from a law enforcement program and transfer those courses into MESA. But to get the advanced methodological work, you'd probably need a degree in some kind of program like ours.
Sure. Yeah, I'm actually a former police officer, so I've had all that. And then the medical field is also very interesting, especially with all the COVID research going on. I could see applications to that, especially with all the new variants coming out.
A lot of our former students work in the medical fields, which cover obviously everything from OT and PT all the way up to doing clinical trials. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities pretty much everywhere. Any other questions that we can try to address, folks?
And everyone, I just put the program courses that you can view in the chat box as well. If you don't have any other questions at this time, we'll end the presentation. I want to thank Ev for doing this, Mr. Smith, as well as Ms. Bianca Sanchez. And again, you know, there is still plenty of time to get your application in for the upcoming spring term. If you have questions, don't hesitate to email me or Dana, and we'll be happy to help you out with any further questions.
Yep. Thanks, Curtis. Thanks, Bianca. And thanks everybody for attending.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's application in for this upcoming spring term. We got this. All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.